We're talking about 5 major things that affect your ability to level up. This is late for me. My normal scheduled broadcasts are Mondays and Wednesdays at 11:30 a.m. Let me see if I can put a title in. I'm just going to stick Level Up in here for Instagram. Let me know who's on. I couldn't make it earlier today. So I promised myself throughout the day, I said, okay, I'm just going to do a surprise broadcast. Hey, Rox, how are you? Nick Randall, thank you for joining on Instagram. So you guys see in the title, well, for most of you anyway, Instagram, I kind of put just a really short title because I was already logged on with my other devices and I didn't want to keep them long. So Instagram, it just says level up, right? And on Facebook, it says 5 major things that affect your ability to level up. And I believe I put the same in Periscope. So before I get started, I want to take care of just a piece of house business. We're going to talk about 5 major things that affect your ability to level up. And what made me think about this specific topic on today, one, our focus for this entire month is operating at the highest version of yourself, right? Which often means leveling up in not just one area of your life, but in multiple areas of your life. And so I've been hearing so many people talk about the song with Sierra from Level Up. And so I went and looked it up and now I can't get it out of my head, you know, that type of thing. But I'm always talking about level up. And I kind of want to maybe debunk some of the myths about leveling up, because oftentimes we think level up means that, you know, we got to do a whole lot of stuff or take major leaps or jumps. And I do fully believe in quantum leaps in our life and our business. I've experienced several of them that I'm really, really grateful about. But that's not always what leveling up means. So we're going to talk about that on this evening. I'm going to share a piece of house business that I'm so excited about. So first of all, September the 23rd, and I'm trying to get everything right because I actually just launched the link and made it live and available for people to join. So I will be hosting a live event in Raleigh, North Carolina on September 23rd, 2018. For salon owners and aspiring salon owners. And the link just went live. I'm excited. I actually did the event once here in Greenville, North Carolina, and now I'm just kind of moving around with it just a little bit, coming from behind the computer. And so I'm super, super excited about that. For those of you who are salon owners or aspiring salon owners, and maybe you're struggling to find good staff or good renters, maybe you feel like you have been working more as a salon owner than you've actually worked before, you know, before you became a salon owner, and you're like, this was never the plan, right? I opened the salon with the intentions of being able to have more time freedom. Hey, Bella, darling, how are you? And more personal freedom. And since I became a salon owner, that's not how it's going down, right? So for the salon owner who feels like that, like I'm actually working more as a salon owner than I was as a single stylist, for the salon owner who's looking for ways to create more revenue, as opposed to having to work 7 days or 10 to 12 hours. If any of those things are positions that you may find yourself in or things that you're really interested in, then the Maximize Live event is for you. I'm excited about it, and because I am in a new city, I've, you know, used some different strategies this particular time and kind of partnered in different ways. And those are a lot of things that I talk about with my clients, and it's really been fun for me because really building a business is based off of principles, right? And so success leaves clues. And we don't always have to reinvent the wheel in order to level up, right? We don't always have to reinvent the wheel to level up. Sometimes it's just from a space of awareness. Well, actually, it's always from a space of awareness, because leveling up simply means that you are aware of where you are and where you want to go, and you're figuring out the strategy to fill in the space in between those two. And so for me, it's fun actually, you know, planning and hosting this event, because I get to do some of the things that I did as a salon owner to market or advertise or create community relationships. And so I'm super excited about that. If you are a salon owner or an aspiring salon owner, I invite you to join me. There are 2 ticket options for that event. The actual event is from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., but I've added what's called a power hour, where I will work with 10 salon owners only for 1 hour prior to the event, where they will get more individualized time with me. Their time with me actually starts before the event. They actually fill out a short questionnaire so that while we're in the space together, I can uniquely help them with their business. It's probably one of the, it's a great investment as far as, you know, maybe working with me one-on-one or in my group coaching programs. And so the VIP opportunity allows you space for the power hour and the event, and that's $175. So you get both of those for only $175, and the regular ticket price is $97. So the link to that is renewfullcircle.com/maximize, renewfullcircle.com/maximize. And the link is open now. There's only 10 spaces available. So if you're looking to take advantage of that opportunity, you actually have to do it by September the 5th if you're going to do VIP, simply because the questionnaire needs to be back into me by September the 10th, so that I am fully prepared, so that if there are some strategic things that I can kind of strategize on prior to our time together, I'll have ample time to do that, so that I can give you the fullest value possible when you actually come to the event. So that's the house business, a late introduction. And ask you guys a favor. If you're on with me, share. It's a different time for me to actually be on. So my normal followers who come on at 11:30 on Mondays and Wednesdays, they're not expecting me. I just popped on and I said, whoever's on and up will get this blessing right here, this good blessing. So I was thinking, quick introduction. Tanya Cherry, beauty business consultant and certified life coach. I have a 24+ year background in the most amazing industry on the planet, hands down, the beauty industry, and 10 years as a former salon owner. I help hairstylists and salon owners just like you to level up, right? I help them create amazing brands and lifestyles that they love. One unique thing about my brand is that I operate from a full circle perspective. So we focus on mindset, personal development, and business building. And I absolutely love it. I was actually, just sharing with God today that I'm so grateful. Is that Arlie Shay? How are you? Thank you for joining. I think that I pronounced that right. I'll tear it up. Thank you for joining this evening on Instagram. So I was just briefly, how many of you just periodically throughout the day, have a little convo with God, right? You politic with God just randomly. And so that's what I was doing a little earlier, and just thanking him. I said, man, I'm so glad that I decided to authentically build my brand based off of my unique gifts, my gift zones, right? Because as a salon coach, it's not always popular. Well, it's becoming that now that people are really talking about the mindset and personal development. I do notice that it is getting more popular now, but that is my unique brand, and it's authentic to me, and it feels absolutely amazing. I was in my group coaching program today, and we were talking, and as the young ladies were sharing with me, one of the ladies who's taken my 3D Success Bootcamp is actually an alumni. So she's revisiting the program a year later, and she was sharing with the other participants the benefits, what she has gained and what's happened for her in only 18 months. She's gone from working in a small space by herself to now being in a 2,000 square foot building with other staff members, right? Aisha, how are you, dear? Thank you for joining. With other staff members, we've developed a program that is now being serviced for a nonprofit organization. And not only is it just the one nonprofit organization that connected with her, she now has 3 scheduled dates where she will be teaching the program that we created to 3 other locations in her state, right? So we developed this plan, this strategy for 5 years, where she would not have to operate behind the chair at all. She would have other streams of revenue and other people inside her space and in her brand that would allow her to continue earning revenue. And so we're just in one state with what she's doing, and I'm expecting God to, you know, continue to do major things and open up major doors for her. And we talked about you know, different places that she's going to have her product available to consumers. And so I'm just excited. One of the things she spoke about the most that she benefit from, that really caused her to think on another level, was my concepts and teaching about mindset. So I remember, it's so funny, we talked about it today. I remember how, you know, when I expressed to her that, you know, if you are working by yourself, then you're trading dollars for hours. And if that's not something that you want to do continuously, you need to get some folks up in your salon, right? And I could feel the hesitation, you know, last year when we first coached, because sometimes the mentality is, I'm good. You know, I've tried the employee or booth rent thing before and it didn't work. I'm good. And that's great. But when we're thinking about from a long-term perspective, right, when we begin to think further than what we can see right now, there has to be some type of plan where you're leveling up. And so I'm just super excited. I'm so glad that I decided to stay in my own lane and not follow the trends where I specifically only taught about strategies for building the business. Of course, the strategies I teach work. You guys hear me sharing the successes of my clients periodically on social media, and it's massive, guys. It's not just, you know, things that are being added to their business. I teach strategies in a way that people can multiply their efforts. And so our God is a multiplier, right? If you read scripture, you'll read about how he talks about things being multiplied, like 30, 60, 100 fold, and not just adding things, right? And so that's when God is putting this super to our natural. And so I do use a lot of kingdom concepts and kingdom principles and a lot of divine downloads from God, coupled with my experience and things that I've done in my business to also help my clients. And so I'm sharing that too, because I want you guys to bet on yourself, right? To be comfortable with that idea that you have, although it may not be the norm or it may not be what everyone else is doing. I think that you create a lane for yourself when you are authentically who you are, right? I think it creates a space for you that no one else can rock out in. It's a space and an area that you can dominate or gain dominion in, which is what, you know, as a kingdom entrepreneur, that's what we're called to do, right? Gain dominion. And, you know, many times we don't really know what dominion looks like. So when you think about dominion in itself, it means to dominate. And I often like to use the word dominion as opposed to dominate, because for me, dominate sounds like so masculine, right? And so aggressive, but it's all the same. It's a space that you rock out in and you flow in, and things are just attracted to you. And, you know, one door after another is opening to you because it's your lane, right? It's your lane. And so, boom, here's another door open, and then another door open. And tonight, I want to talk about 5 major things that affect your ability for those things to happen in your salon career and in your life. You guys down for that? If you are, put me in the comments if that's something you guys want to hear about. And actually, the coaching call that I had on today made me, you know, think about it. And I said, I'm going to share some perspective on, you know, what may be holding you back from actually leveling up, and what does leveling up actually look like. So first of all, I believe that before any strategies or anything of that nature really become continuously effective in our business or in our life, I believe that they occur in our mind first, or they have to occur in our mind first, meaning I shared earlier today a post talking about something that my assistant pastor shared years ago. He said, before you ever become a millionaire, you have to develop those habits long before the money ever flows in. And so the mindset to do whatever the strategy is that you're wanting to do, you have to acquire that mindset first. Like, it doesn't happen the other way around. And if by chance you put the strategies before the mindset, you often have to go back. Y'all don't hear me. You often have to go back and develop the mindset in order to sustain whatever you built without it. Meaning that a huge percentage of your business is spiritual. It ain't no way around it, right? A huge percentage of your business is spiritual. And so there's a scripture that I love, and it says, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers. So a lot of times when kingdom entrepreneurs say this scripture, they say, God said he wished above all things that we prosper and be in health. And they leave the last part out, even as your soul prospers. So what he's saying is, to the measure that your soul is prospering, that's the measure that your business gonna prosper, right? You get that? And so, we can't avoid the health and the wellness of our spirituality as we're building our business. So one of the major things, and I talk about this often, but when I use it in different scenarios, it brings new light or another level of revelation to it. So one of the major things that affects your ability to level up is your vision. As I'm coaching with my clients on today, one of them shared the fact that they didn't have a vision before, like a clear vision. Now, these are people who've been in the industry for quite some time. And I know what that feels like because I was there before, where I was busy getting a lot of customers, building my clientele, and when I look back at it now, my vision was just to do more hair. Y'all don't hear me, right? And when you think about vision from a long-term perspective, your vision is a lot further out than where you are now and where you desire to be. So basically, I desired just to always be doing a whole lot of customers, right? That was my vision. I just want to build, I want to get more clients and make more money in my mindset. And because that was my mindset, those were also my actions. But when I began to understand further about a vision, I knew that something had to shift. So one of the major things that affects your ability to level up is your vision. Whether or not the vision that you have is actually where you desire to go, right? If that's actually what you want to do, or where you want to see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years in your career and your life. And for some, a vision affecting their ability to level up is the simple fact that they don't have a vision outside of doing more hair. So one of the ways I really focus on and work with my hairstylists and salon clients early is establishing a vision, because it's from that point that we can form a strategy. And so that's like huge, guys. Like you got to have a clear vision. So what you have to think about is, if I do the activities that I'm doing now every single day for the next 5 years, is it going to get me where I desire to be? That's a huge question to ask. This will help you to see if one, you have a vision, and if there are proper strategies aligned with it. Because how many of you know that we can work really hard and not really progress if we're not working hard on the right things? So one of the things that a vision does is it gives you clarity, and it gives you focus, and it simplifies your life and your business. So one of the things, and I'm going to have my client to share her experience with the class, because even some of the things she shared now, we've been working together for about 18 months, were new to me, right? They were new things to me that I thought are invaluable for others to hear in the industry, not just because she worked with me, but how she has transitioned and how the 5-year vision that we have, or we, strategize, she's 18 months into it, and already she is creating several streams of income that don't require her to trade her dollars for hours, although she's still behind the chair, right? Because the 5-year vision is to be able to comfortably come from behind the chair and still have things, manifesting and operating for her. So your vision is one of the major things that affects your ability to level up. Do you have one? And if you have one, is it clear? Do you have clarity on your vision? That's one of the things we're going to talk about at the Maximize Live event. I'm going to help people to get clear on their vision so that they can, because if you can't see it, right? If you can't see it, then you need more clarity in it. You should be able to see yourself there. Remember, I talked earlier about, the spiritual side of your business comes before anything. And so one of the spiritual aspects is being able to see something before you actually obtain it. And then once you have a clear vision, holding on to it, reminding yourself of it regularly, having things in place in your daily processes, your daily regimen, your daily routine that allow you to stay connected to the vision. Because when a vision isn't clear and when you're no longer connected to it, you fall off and you go do this or you go do that. You try so many different things, and then you find that, hey, I'm way off course from where it was I said I wanted to be. So one of the major things that affects your ability to level up is your vision. Do you have one? And if so, is it clear? Let's see, somebody's popping on. Tasha Mack, hey girl, how are you? Number 2, the second thing, and this one is all of them. One is probably, I don't know if anyone is bigger than the other, right? But the second major thing that affects your ability to level up is your perception of yourself. I'm gonna say that one more time because it's so heavy. One of the things that affects your ability to level up is your perception of yourself. So I'll give you guys an example. If you are in a place of lack, right? If you're experiencing a little hardship financially, chances are very likely, if you don't have the right mindset, because remember I said 80% of the success of your business is your thinking. So if you don't have the right mindset, the perception, and you're facing a little lack, then you are probably going to run more sales in your business, right? Everything is always going to be on sale because in your mind, the client can't afford it. But what's really doing is you are transferring what you feel, your perspective, your perception of yourself onto your customer, onto the customers that you serve. Because you may be saying subconsciously, right? She can't afford a $200 service. I don't even want to share, my real price because I know I wouldn't be able to afford something like that right now. And this is why I shared with you all earlier that whatever it is you're desiring, you have to become it spiritually, emotionally, internally before it ever transpires. And so you don't build your business based off of your own ability, right? That's not how you're going to build your business, right? You don't base it off of your own ability. You base it off of the value of your service, not what you can afford, because your goal is to come from that place of lack to a space of abundance. And so your perception of yourself has a lot to do with, whether or not you level up in your business. So if you feel like you're struggling, y'all don't hear me. If you feel like things aren't going well for you, you project that same thing on to your clients. This is why, focusing on your mindset, your emotional intelligence, your emotional health, your spirituality is so important when you're building a business, because we build how we feel. We build how we feel. And so your perception of yourself is going to be how you build your business. So let's go a little deeper with that. So if, and I'm kind of going to piggyback off of a conversation that I had where someone was sharing how, you know, as I was teaching about teaching a mindset principle in my private coaching, they were saying that their specific aha moment was they were able to go back into their business and look at their business a while back when they were in a bad relationship. Y'all don't hear me now, right? And they could see how they were not operating at the highest version of themselves during that time. And this is where things, our thoughts become things, and our perspective and how we're valuing ourselves. So how many of you have ever been in a messed up relationship before? Right? In a relationship that didn't serve you, right? It did, well, it served you, but it served the lower you, right? It served the lower you. It didn't serve that highest version of you, right? I know I've been in one, right? And what happens during that time is, one, you're treated unfairly, right? And you're always questioning whether you're good enough. And 9 times out of 10, if it's not a good relationship, they aren't doing anything to help your self-esteem. Nothing, right? If anything, they're doing, saying things to make how you feel about yourself even worse. And so what happens is you take that same perspective that's being, you know, it's like you're being fed that all day long. You begin to start wondering, well, you know, what am I doing wrong? You know, am I good enough? And so that rolls over into everything that you do, right? So your perception of yourself changes. So that means that when it comes to building your business, you start taking shorts. You're trying to please everybody. Y'all don't hear me. This thing is serious, right? And this is why I teach. I go really, really deep into those perspectives with my coaching clients. I cannot even begin to explain to you guys how glad I am that I stayed in my lane, that I'm dominating in my area of gifting, right? Because I struggled. You know, as I came online as a salon coach, I struggled with, you know, what do I talk about mindset? Do I talk about personal development? You know, should I just stick to, you know, what everybody else is sticking to, which is, you know, just how to build a business? But I couldn't do it. My heart wouldn't let me do it, because I knew there was a deeper level of revelation that clients really need in order to get in a lane, flow in it, and smash it. Right? And I knew that it wasn't from one perspective. I knew that it was a full circle experience. Hey, Natasha. Hey, Gloria. How are you? And one day I made a decision. And one of the things that made me really, really make the decision, guys, is because I couldn't teach what I wasn't living. So I'm teaching my clients to be authentic and find their space and find their lane. And then here I go over here, I'm holding back, right? So I made a decision, and I am so grateful that I chose to authentically build my salon business and my coaching brand, because my clients see massive results because of the mindset and personal development that I combine with the strategies. Because you guys know I can give y'all 500 strategies. Hey, Angie girl, how are you? And if that mindset isn't right, it ain't going down. If your perception of yourself is not good, you're not even going to feel that you deserve the rewards that would come from implementing what I share, right? Some of the things that some of the strategies that I would give you, they would be too big for the low self. Y'all don't hear me, right? And so this is why even on my broadcast like now, I focus on mindset, because I understand that if I can get you to shift the perception of who you are, doing the strategies is simple. It's like, because at that point, you feel you deserve it. At that point, you feel you deserve what's at the next level. At that point, even if a little fear arises in the process, now, Miss Tanya, I ain't too comfortable with that, right? But that the higher version of yourself will outspeak that lower version of you. The higher version of you will say, hey, this is how I flow. I flow in excellence, right? This thing that she's asking me to do aligns fully with where I say I desire to be. And I know I deserve what's on the next level. So I'm so grateful to God that, he just gave me the courage to build my brand authentically to me. Because in my own time, in my own struggles, I realized that even if I'm a systems girl, right? And so one of my areas of genius is creating systems, which is why, the strategies and the planning and all of that stuff, it comes easy for me. And it comes even easier because I'm always going to God to get like a super, divine download for my clients. So I'm always adding his power to, whatever it is I share to my gifts. But I knew when I had struggles in my own personal life, it didn't matter that I knew the strategies, right? My mindset was tore out the frame. I couldn't implement the strategies, right? I couldn't implement the strategies. And so it was difficult for me to come and just teach business strategies. Hey, Wicker team, how are you? When I knew that the mindset was super important. And it was at that time when I was in transition and I understood what was transpiring. And I was like, hey, how am I falling off here? And it was my mindset. And so the other things that I'm going to share with you guys are the important things that are major, that affect your ability to level up. They affect your ability to level up. And I learned them through, my own personal struggles and just realizing, hey, if you ain't doing nothing, you need to be these things that I'm naming, right? So we talked about vision and your perception of yourself, because a lot of times when things aren't going as expected, Elise, Hair MD, how are you? Thank you for joining on Periscope. When things aren't going as we expect them to, whether it's in a relationship or in our business, we can start to feel down on ourselves. But if we understand who we are, right? If our perception of ourselves is really good, regardless of what the adversity is, instead of our mindset saying, well, maybe I shouldn't, or I don't know if I can, or I'm just going to do it later, or I'll catch it next year. That's that low mind that's always, trying to get us to stay on that same level. But the higher version of us, regardless of what it is that we're facing, because our perception of ourselves is great, right? It will always tell us to take the higher road. Always. The highest version of you is never confused. Y'all don't hear me. The highest version of you is never confused, because it's at that space that you're operating from another realm spiritually. You're aligning with who God says you are in that space. That version of you is not confused, right? Where the confusion comes in about whether or not you should do it, it's that lower version of you. Y'all tap the screen if you guys are understanding what I'm saying, if this is registering for you. And so I made August the focus for August, operating at the highest version of yourself, because that part of you is never confused. It's not. The highest version of you will always tell you to go and get what you deserve. Tasha says you're so bomb. Thank you, dear. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. So that second thing that affects your ability to level up is your perception of yourself. So guys, I want you guys to spend time, right? Spend time affirming yourself. Spend time confirming your vision, which is the first one that we talked about. And this is the next thing that affects it's major, huge, major, that affects your ability to level up, and that's your environment. Your environment. So the enemy never really gets us because, he has on the red suit with the ear, the dragon horns, or it's not from the things that are obvious. Somebody tap the screen, right? The enemy never I mean, we know that, right? We know all of the obvious things that are going to cause us to fall off or cause us to get in trouble or, just lose focus. We know those things. He's not tempting us with those things, right? And, coming from that lower version of ourselves, he's actually tempting us with things that are good. I might have confused somebody. I'm going to break it down, okay? So what many people spend the majority of their time doing is doing things that are good. Like, they're not really bad. Yeah, don't hear me. But they aren't great, right? They aren't great. So we spend time in environments that they aren't really bad. They're not horrible environments, but they aren't great. They don't align with the highest version of you. Elise Hair MD said, I feel you, right? They don't align with the highest version of you. So distractions never distract you because it's necessarily a bad thing. Distractions distract you because they are things that we consider they're okay. They're not bad, right? But, the highest version of you is always choosing something exceptional. The highest version of you is always choosing the greater, right? And what happens is we spend so much time in good environments that are actually bad, but they're not that bad, right? We spend so much time in those environments that we never have time. We're never open. We're not even aware of environments that are greater. Yeah, don't hear me, right? So it keeps you busy. Good is the enemy of great, guys. Good is the enemy of great. And if we're not careful, things that we do on a regular basis, right, they become normal to us, even if they aren't normal. Even if they aren't normal. So one of the reasons this was important to me is because one of my clients was sharing with me that she, a while ago, she was in an environment and she realized that those conversations no longer did anything for her, right? It's like it didn't elevate her. It didn't align with where she is now or where she desired to go. And she found herself irritated by them, right? Now, how many of you have experienced that before? There were some things I used to do back in the day, church. I'm just going to say I partied Thursday through Sunday. I would hop on a plane to go shopping, to go to a party, right? So I partied, right? So how many of you, listen, Elise says, I understand. For example, I like to hang out with my best friend when I should go work on my goal. That's so good. And one of the things I do in my regimen, right, because I understand that there's specific things that I have to do and they don't seem like it's not a tug and a pull anymore. It's natural for the highest version of myself to make sure that I'm doing the things that actually align, that's actually going to get me where it is that I desire to go. So it's not hard for me to say, nah, I'm not going to make it. But what I do is, because I'm not just cutting everybody off. Now, some people, I didn't just fall back. It's just I can't do it anymore, period, right? But, I make time for my friends. So I schedule that time. Like when I'm taking my daughter to school in the morning, no phone for me. That's my time with her. But on my way back home, I may call my mom or call my girlfriend or someone I haven't spoken to, right? I make that selective time because I understand once I get back home, I'm aligning with, the highest version of myself and what the highest version of myself would do for my next level. So I was asking you guys, how many of you, have had places. Hey, Shanita, how are you, dear? Guys, do me a favor. If you're receiving great information from the broadcast, share it out. Share it with someone else in the industry who could use the message. I'd like for as many people as possible to get this. It's going to, thank you for inviting your followers. Hey, Shanita, how are you, dear? It's going to cause a shift. And what you have to realize, and and I hope you guys can align with me right here, because it's a principle that I learned too. There's a reaping and sowing, right? So there's going to come a time in your business, y'all don't hear me, where instead of you saying nobody's supporting my business, and nobody is sharing my stuff and things of that nature, but you guys know that we can only expect in our business what we put out. You guys get that? So yes, I like for as many people as possible to see this, but it's also a seed for you. It's also a seed for you. So I ask you, share the broadcast with someone. So we're talking about environment being, now, if you work with me privately, my private clients who have already paid me, right, who've already paid me, I have the same conversation with them. So this is not the biggest part of me sharing what I just shared about you receiving things back into your business is more for you than it is for me. Yeah, I don't hear me. It's more for you than it is for me. So we talked about your environment being one of the major things that affects your ability to level up. And as my client was sharing about an event she went to a while back, that, let me see if I'm missing any comments. Bella says, yes, I love how you put that, Tanya. Oh, thank you. You're welcome. So the mistake that we make when we feel that is we take that feeling for granted. Like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't even like this environment. And we keep going. We keep going to the environment that's no longer serving who we are now or who we desire to be. Right. And then we look up 5 years from now and everything is the same. Right. Because we basically sold out, still attempting to please people, right? Because we're feeling like, okay, they're going to think, I think I'm too good for them, or whatever the case may be. Bella says, pay it forward. Thank you. And so all of that is all perception, guys, right? Because at the end of the day, when, your 5-10 year mark is up and you still not at your goal, right? And those same people still doing the same thing. So your environment is one of the major things that affect your ability to level up. Your environment has to be conducive to where you want to go, right? So if you look around you and the environments you are in, if you know some people in particular who are in those environments, no shade at all, because we all have choice. Everybody gets to choose what it is they want to do, what they want to smash, what level they want to level up to, how exceptional their career and their lifestyle is going to be. Everybody gets to choose, and it's no shade. But when you look at the people that are around you, one, can they help you get to your next level? And I don't mean necessarily by giving you money or even giving you the answers. Is it any part of what you do with them that elevates you to be able to operate at the space at the next level? Darche, how are you, dear? Right? You got to ask yourself. And then you got to look at the environment and say, is anybody living the way that I want to live? Because we're an average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And what you're listening to, what you're hearing on a regular basis, now this right here is when it gets heavy and people, might say it doesn't take all that. Okay. So Elise says, how do I find friends who are trying to get to their next level? So Elise, as you begin to operate at the highest version of yourself, you will attract them. As you begin to operate at the highest version of yourself, you will attract them. And this is how it happens. So the highest version of Elise is now going to choose different environments. Is that right, Elise? Like that highest version of you. Elise gonna choose different environments. And so those environments are going to serve you differently. And they're also going to have people who think on that level, whatever that level is that you agreed to align with. You get that, Elise? Awesome, Darche, awesome. So Another way is, see, as you begin to operate at the highest version of yourself, and you no longer want to do some of the things you did before, you want to try different things. You're open to different things. You're open to different experiences. And this is where those people who also want to level up are. A lot of times, many of my clients inside of my coaching programs, they form relationships and friendships with the people that, they've coached with, especially my larger programs. And I say larger, meaning the programs where I work with them more closely. I have like a membership site where I do a live call once a month, but my larger programs, I work with them deeply, and they're all in a different platform, and we coach and talk together. And so they form, relationships in those spaces, accountability partners and things of that nature. So all of it is like the highest version of you will invest differently. The highest version of you invests differently. And so you earn a seat in the room with people who are wanting some similar things as you, if not greater, if not greater. So the fourth thing that's major, and it affects your ability to level up, and it's kind of connected to your environment, but your conversations. Not just the conversations you have, but the conversations you're willing to entertain. The conversations you're even willing to entertain. Because you got to think about it like this. If people are constantly coming to you complaining or gossiping or, that type of stuff, you have to ask yourself, what is it about me that makes them comfortable? Listen, we ain't gonna make this about anybody else but us, because we are the only individuals that we can control, right? And we are consistently and constantly attracting from the space of who we are. So I don't get, it's a rarity that people bring gossip to me, right? Because my conversation is going to shut it down without me even having to, because I'm going to go somewhere else. Or, girl, let me call you back. One, because I know the importance of what it is that I'm listening to. I know how it gets embedded into my subconscious. I know how if I decide to throw a little shade, I probably can expect a little shade to come back to me. And the highest version of me, those aren't the conversations that I want to have, right? Even when it comes to complaining. So that doesn't mean that my girlfriends and I don't talk about things that aren't going the way we expected in our lives, but because we are developed in our mindset and our awareness, somebody shifts quickly. Somebody pulls the other person back to the highest version of themselves. You guys get that? So it's not like I can't ever go to my friends when something is wrong. If I do, or when I do, I already know that they're going to help me get to a space mentally that I need to be in order to attract things on my next level. Because we spend a lot of time in conversation talking about what we don't have, what we don't like, who hurt us, what didn't go well, speaking ill will to the people that hurt us, and recreating those same situations consistently over and over and over again, as opposed to talking about where it is that we desire to go instead, right? So we spend a little more time on the things that we feel aren't working and talking about them repeatedly and over again. And how many of you know it, or is it maybe it's just me? I can't get a lot done when I'm talking about what's not working. Y'all tap the screen. If you guys feel the same, if you guys just think about it for a moment. If you had a rough situation, or, maybe someone disappointed you, or, maybe the finances weren't doing well, maybe you can think back to a time where you were struggling financially, and that's all you thought about. You really wasn't smashing a whole lot of nothing during that time. You weren't really smashing any goals during that time, because the majority of your thoughts and your conversations and your story, and every time someone spoke to you and every time you talked, was about those things that weren't working. And so there was no room available to even hear. Like if someone even dropped a strategy, you couldn't hear it. Couldn't hear it, right? because you had gotten your heart into what wasn't working, as opposed to what you need to focus on in order to get to the next level. So your conversations is one of the major things. It's the fourth major thing. I have one more to share with you guys, and I thank you guys for hanging out with me this late. I'm not normally up, right? Well, at least not on here anyway. So we shared that your conversations, not only what you say, but also the conversations that you entertain. Um, think about this. I think relationships is always an easy space for us to understand, and then we can, relay it to our business. So if you're married and all of your girlfriends are single, which absolutely nothing is wrong with, I don't know if that wouldn't even come all the way out. So maybe it's not the smartest thing that all of your girlfriends are single. But imagine you're married, your girlfriends are single, you go to share a situation that you have with your husband, and your girlfriend gives you a single-minded perspective on it, right? She gives you a single-minded perspective. And then you talk to your other girlfriend and she gives you a single-minded perspective. And everybody is giving you advice from a place of singlehood. Now, this isn't to say that a single woman can't give you great advice, because some things you can just discern that some ain't right, right? Regardless of whether you're single or married, God gives us discernment. But more often, if you have some girlfriends who are married who've possibly gone through some similar things, they can give you a measure of wisdom, right? That you just may not be able to receive from your single girlfriends, because your single girlfriends may be, really focusing on partying or, hanging out, and then you're starting to hear those things, and then you're thinking that your life is weird, right? Because you can't do those things on a consistent basis, not thinking that you're in a 5,000 square foot home, you vacation, you shop when you want to, you have a loving spouse. You know what I'm saying? So conversations are important. And so it's really important that you have some people in your tribe or in your circle or in your community. And if you don't have them, then you become intentional about connecting with those people, right? Figuring out how you can get in the space. Whether it's, sometimes you got to invest to get in the room. Sometimes you just got to invest to get in the room. A lot of times you have to invest to get in the room. But what you listen to and you entertain. And this is the last one, and it's big, it's good. It's good, guys. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, right? If you've enjoyed it, let me know in the comments that this was good for you, because you can rest on this and wake up with these same thoughts and just be ready to smash on tomorrow morning. So the fifth thing that is major, it's major, that affects your ability to level up, is your money story. Your money story. Somebody put my money story in the comments. Your money story. So, Tanya, what's my money story? So your money story is something that normally develops early in life. It starts young, very, very young. For some people, their money story is recreated after they experience life some, right? But for the most part, our money story is developed when we're young. Doesn't mean we can't change it. We just got to be aware of what our money story is. So a lot of times, if we grew up in an environment where there was always lack, where we heard things like, wealthy people are evil, right? If we heard things like there's just not enough, if scarcity was a constant conversation in our home, right? If we even saw our parents, struggling a lot, it creates a money story for us. And so in our mindset, there is an abundance of money, right? Earning money is really, really hard. These are things that develop your money story, and they affect your ability to level up. And this is why I focus on mindset so much, because we live in a land of abundance. We don't have a lack of resources, clients, money, energy, none of that. There's no lack of those things, right? And we create it and we bring it into our life based on what we believe about it. Your money story also affects how you spend and earn money. So maybe you do a lot of clients, maybe you make a lot of money, but it's always gone. There's never any left, right? There's never any left. And so that's created from, your money story as well. So what is your money story? What did you learn about money? What were the conversations, whether you were raised by your parents or another guardian, what were the conversations that were had about money around your home? And for some of us, nobody ever talked about money, right? So our money story is we just don't really understand money, right? We saw people go to work. We knew the lights were on. We knew there was food on the table, but nobody really ever talked about it. So your money story is something huge. And you, a lot of times, are going to live your life and build your business based on your money story until your money story changes, if it needs to change. And so if you experience lack or, even things like, I can remember, and I'm not going to go too far in detail, but I can remember visiting people and, there would be, now let me say this, I'm a parent now, so I understand that sometimes you just want to be able to eat your own Snickers bar without everybody in the house eating it. But what I'm about to share with you is completely and totally different from that, right? Where food was in closets or, just hiding things or, all of that affects, the money story. And so if you grew up in a household where the guardian was always asking people for stuff or borrowing things or, sometimes they talked about everybody that may have, gone outside of their measure of finances, like negatively. What happens with your money story is you now view people with money or wealth kind of negatively too. So what happens is, one, you never feel comfortable being in the room with them. And that's where the information is. Y'all don't hear me, right? You kind of talk about them, you see them from a negative respect, and you can never attract what you don't respect. You will never learn from a person that you don't honor. And so if you have this negative connotation about people who, have wealth or earn great sums of money, you never get in the room. You never get in the room. So 5 major things that affect your ability to level up. Your vision was 1. Your perception of yourself is 2. Huge, major. What you think about you, what you think you deserve, right? What you think is possible for you. All if you don't think you deserve it, you're not going to go after it. I remember asking people to go to, every year I go to this event called Parade of Homes. And I can remember on a few occasions asking a specific person, do you want to go? And they were like, I can't afford that, right? But see, what exposure does, because remember I said you got to see where it is that you want to go before you actually get there. And so if you're never in those environments, you can't even visualize it. You can't even see yourself there. But what happens with things that you feel you can't afford, if you can get in the room, then you begin to create strategies. You say, oh, I really want that. So the brain begins to start, strategizing. The brain begins to ask new questions that lead you in the direction of how to get that thing that's on the next level. You guys get that? So your perception of yourself, the environment that you're in, places that you go, conversations that you have, and conversations that you entertain, major, right? They affect your ability to level up. And last but not least, your money story. It affects your ability to level up. Are there any questions before I log off tonight? This was a late broadcast. I pray that it blessed you. I pray that I gave you guys some things that you can shift on, right? Because much of what you do, Tasha says, you better talk, Aunt Tanya. So much of what you do is based on what you believe. And so I hope that I've left you with some things to think about, because thoughts become things, right? Thoughts become things. You begin thinking about it. The brain begins asking questions and developing insight and sparking your curiosity. And now when you wake up in the morning, you're going to see some things that you saw before that were already there, right? For you guys that are kingdom entrepreneurs, you know, you hear people say, it's already there, it's already been done. And oftentimes, the reason why we haven't seen it, the reason why we pass over opportunities regularly, if you guys take one letter from each of that, that's poor, pass over opportunities regularly, is because our mindset hasn't even been developed to hear on that level, right? But these 5 things, if you guys work on those 5 things, it will shift. You shift your mindset, you shift your money. Shift your mindset, you shift your money. You guys have a super, super amazing evening. I appreciate you. I will see you guys again on Wednesday. I'm so glad I decided to operate at the highest version of myself tonight, because I fought myself. I was like, maybe I'll do it tomorrow morning. Maybe I'll just do it Wednesday. And then I said, what would the highest version of you do? And I answered and I said, I would go on tonight, right? I would come on live tonight. I would align fully with the highest version of myself. You guys have a super, super amazing evening. I appreciate you guys. Peace. You're welcome, Bella.